super thin skin, held up longer than I was falling.
Welcome to Center Stage, the documentary podcast. Each week, our group of intrepid researchers and music archivists dig through the record crates of the world, looking for that one artist to take center stage. Using a patent-pending algorithm and spirited debate, we pick one artist. Once that is settled, we invite that artist into Thunderlove Studio to chat with your hosts Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun. When we're lucky, they say yes. Our mission with Center Stage is simple: to make sure the recorded work of artists remains, or in some cases lands on, the cultural radar. We invite you to sit back and relax. Thank you for joining us.
The KATIES are one of those rock and roll bands you may have heard about but never heard. The KATIES hailed from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and were primarily active in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Known for their infectious melodies and raw energy, they blended elements of classic rock, grunge, and Beatles-esque harmonies. Despite critical acclaim and tireless work, the band never quite broke into the mainstream. However, their sound remains a hidden gem for fans of hook-driven, guitar-fueled rock with a mix of angst and euphoria. Lead singer Jason Moore recently stopped by Thunderlove Studio to share some fantastic stories. We were lucky enough to have a career-spanning and quite candid conversation with Jason about both the KATIES and his other work. Stories were told. Very good stories. Here's our conversation with Jason.
Wow. Everybody is in. Let the party begin.
Nice.
Jason, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Jason, please meet Keith. Keith, please meet Jason.
Nice to meet you.
Jason and I met 25 years ago in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My goodness, man.
What were the circumstances around that meeting?
Well, I should preface all of this by saying my college band had the good fortune to open for the KATIES not once but twice. Once in a very bizarre university-sponsored thing where they had us like in the cafeteria in like the student body like meeting area thing on campus. It was not a rock venue. It was a very strange place to have a concert. But the campus radio station got behind it and promoted it. We had a pretty decent little turnout. And if my memory serves, Jason, not that we can edit this out in post if you want, because maybe you have kids or something that might want to listen to the show. But I seem to remember everybody that evening, both bands, having a very experimental evening. The way that I will put it.
Yeah, it's so funny because when we talked about that earlier, that's like a story we always tell making fun of Gary because he was passed out in the back of our van. Or he wasn't really passed out, but he was just laying back there zoned out in the back of our van, and they were like saying, "Hey man, you guys got to go on." And we didn't. That's where I found him. I went like looking all over the place, and he was just. I think that was probably there was a period when we were really into psychedelics, and that was right in the heart of that. I've never seen him. That's like the most blasted I've ever like played a show with Gary. I mean, Joshua was always playing it straight. My brother, the drummer, he was always playing it straight. But Gary and I, it was one or the other. I mean, we both have, and it was his turn that night. I just remember like we would sing songs, and I felt like he's singing like, I don't know, like a quarter of a second behind me or something. Like something's really like there's like a time delay going on in his mind.
Gary had to be lassoed back from the rings of Saturn that night. Yeah.
That we always joke about that one, and then we played this one show in Pensacola where a radio host. We were really big into advocating about how much we like to get high. I mean, we really were just like, I mean, our goal was like, we want to be in high times. Whenever we were like, made like the Pot 100, it was like, oh yeah, we were stoked. So we were talking about it with a DJ in Pensacola. I think his name was Shark or something. It was something, nautical, and he took us. I mean, we used to take gravity bong like hits like before shows and stuff, and so we were doing all that. And then he shows up to our show, we're like blasted, and like Gary's like, we're like, Gary, you got to go like get high with this guy, because we were telling him how because I was like, I can't even go back there. And then Gary did, and he came on stage, and it was that we gave him a nickname. We called it Pensacola Paul. Like it was like crazy. I remember my parents drove down for that, and like. It was just like
your parents drove down for the show, not necessarily the gravity hits, right?
No, yeah, they drove down for the show. They got quite the show. I think they were real proud. But
man, the KATIES are a band that oftentimes on our show. We love to champion bands that we feel like did not get their appropriate due in the musical world. And the KATIES are one of those bands that I keep going back to. I'm like, man, if there was any justice in the world, you guys would have been the most famous band of the 2000s.
That's kind of easy to say.
The description of if Nirvana, the Beatles, and Led Zeppelin jammed together isn't that crazy when you listen to the music.
That's pretty grandiose. We were young enough to let people say stuff like that about us and put it in bio and stuff like that.
Well, you know what I didn't realize as I prepared myself to do this episode with you, I didn't realize that the origins of the band, I think I always assumed that it was you and your brother and Gary, and that the KATIES kind of arrived already formed. I didn't realize that the foundations of the band, like the launching point, included Seth Timms and Mac Burris and Sam Baker, these other cats from Murfreesboro. Like, I look at Seth Timms and I'm like, he's a piano guy. He's like, kind of a Ben Folds type of savant on piano pop. And Mac Burris, of course, went on to play bass with Self, and now is like the talent booking guy for one of the late night shows out in LA.
Yeah.
How does Seth fit in with you? How do you take a piano savant and a guitar Led Zeppelin guy and make a band out of that?
It's one. Seth is like an awesome guitar player too. That's when I first moved to Murfreesboro, there was like, it was like, I think 94, 95. So I was like 18. I moved there the second semester of my freshman year in college. I'd gone to UT the year before, and then I transferred to go to the RIM program. And when I moved there, there was like this little coffee house next to, the Borough, which is like a famous Murfreesboro famous like place where all the bands play. But before then, there was this coffee. Well, not before then, during then, there was this coffee house owned by this dude named, I think, I can't remember, Josh something. I don't know. But anyway, it's called the Chameleon Cafe. And when I first moved there, I would go to shows there, and it'd be like packed up in this like loft of this like, I don't know what kind of building it was. And I saw the first band that just blew me away was this band I saw, and I thought they had this like high school kid playing drums, and there was this guy, and it was Seth on guitar. It was this band called Elemenope, and Matt Mahaffey was playing drums, and I thought he was Matt's older than me, and I thought he was like a kid. I was like, man, where'd they get this kid to come playing and like drums with him? But like, that was like pretty much my first like impression of like the Murfreesboro music scene. So Seth to me was like, I just thought Seth was the shit. I mean, it's just like, I mean, I love Seth still. I mean, we're still friends to this day, and he's super talented. And he was just like, I don't know how we ended up like approaching Seth, but he just kind of sort of just let us hang out with him. Me and Gary, especially, just kind of let us like sort of hang out with him. And I felt kind of like, it was almost like I went to music school with Seth, because Seth was living with Matt at the time. And I was a few years younger than Gary and I both were, and they let us hang out. I remember going into like hanging out in Seth's room, like listening to music with him, and just like going through his CDs and be like, oh God, I got to get this. Like, this is before, I didn't have internet and crap, so it's like I had to go like buy everything, be like, who's this man, and like just trying to like take notes and stuff. So to me, it always kind of makes sense. I can see it from the outside, but so it just kind of grew organically. Whenever we decided, hey, we're going to become the KATIES, I'd been shopping this solo deal and doing this thing with a little imprint label with Mercury, and it fell through. And Gary and I were like, man, fuck this. Like, let's just form a band and become a rock band and just like play. And then so when we were doing that, it was kind of like, I was really into that record AM by Wilco. Do you know this record?
Yep.
I just love the idea of like real big heavy drums with like kind of like almost more like, more acoustic-y something on top. I mean, it wasn't acoustic, but yeah, more like not as distorted or whatever on top, although the KATIES ended up not that way. But that was like the original kind of like ideal. And there was always like a keyboard player, like in my ideal in the KATIES. Like originally it was like a 4-piece with a keyboard player. So it was Sam Baker. He was the drummer of the Fluid Ounces, and then Seth on keys and sometimes guitar, then me and Gary. And we did a few shows like that. We played Knoxville. And then somehow I'd played in Mac's band, The Plane. Did you ever heard of the band, The Plane? Him and his brother had this band, Swan Burris. Oh, it was like my favorite band. Like, I don't know. They were just kind of like real Black Crowsies is the closest thing I could, I guess. And they had this whole shtick where they'd come out with like airplane pilot, like, uniforms on. They'd be like, hey, they'd have their opening song was the Takeoff Jam. It's like building up of like a plane flying and stuff. Anyway, so I don't know how I ended up playing in that band. I ended up playing bass, and that's how I got friends with Mac. And he was playing guitar, and he was like, man, this guy is like my favorite guitar player in Murfreesboro. He's an awesome guitar player. And so I just always had in my head this kind of a dream thing of like, oh, it'd be killer if I could get Mac to play guitar. And then, so I got him to play guitar, and I think he might have played with us, even with Seth, on keys. Then it was kind of like, hey, we can do this on our own, and we're going to get my brother to come in. And Mac broke his neck and started playing keys with us. and then one day, yeah, it was weird. There was this whole like one day we were just like driving in the square in Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro at the time when we were there, Sponge Bath was on the square, and so there was like this whole scene going around. We weren't on Sponge Bath at the time, but it was me, Mac, and Gary in my car driving around the square, and like we see Matt walking, and Matt goes, "Hey, there's Matt. Let me out of the car." He gets out of the car and he goes off with Matt. We drive off and like come home like that day, and he's like, get a call. Well, I'm gonna have to leave the KATIES. I'm joining Self. Just like, okay. So that's how we became a 3-piece. It was just like, well, we don't want to look for another guitar player. Let's just like see if we can be a 3-piece.
The songs on that first record, seeing the KATIES in that era. I mean, I'm gonna rattle off some songs here. Power Kiss, She's My Marijuana, Noggin Poundin, Shiseido, Drowner, Girl, Ode to SG. Like, there's not a bad song on the record. Every single one of them could have been a hit single to my ear. I know that going into the studio and recording that, there were some lofty expectations. Like, people knew that you guys had something special. and you got to work with some cool people recording that first record. Kind of take me back to how that first album came together.
Well, I mean, it looks like with your first album, you're writing it forever. So we had tons of songs. And it's just like, that's the one thing that I do. I just write. I write all the time. And it was no different back then. I've never stopped. And it's like, I just had a ton of songs. So we had a lot to choose from and a lot to go through. And during this time, I guess right before we got the record deal, we recorded these two, what we called the Carter sessions with this guy, Brian Carter. He went on to like record the features and stuff. And somehow, I don't know if Brian was all a part of this, was from the same hometown as Matt, and Matt was a kind of Mahaffey, and he was like a part of the Sponge Bath kind of founding, I guess. So I don't know, one of them gave it to Rick Williams, the guy from Sponge Bath, and he like just dug it, and like all of a sudden, like he's like asking, "Hey, it moved really fast once he got a hold of it," because he contacted us and we're like, "Hey, let's put out these. We just recorded with Carter. Let's do this. Let's put this out. Yeah, we'll sign with Sponge Bath right now." And then he was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And so we kind of started. That was the original kind of idea, but it just like it took off because like he started shopping some demos and stuff, and there were people like, "Oh, I kind of want to hear this." I think he was pushing other people because we were the young new band on the Sponge Bath roster, and like, you know, like the Self, Features, and Fluid Ounces were way more ahead of us in line as far as like, you know, importance of getting stuff out and getting stuff shopped, and they were trying to shop, I know, the Ounces and the Features and stuff, because that was kind of what Sponge Bath's deal was. Like he kind of wanted to be this label that took bands and sort of managed, and he would either release an album of your own or he can shop it and try to get a deal. It was more trying to let's try to get a deal with a major and see what happens. And like, I guess Rick was friends with this producer, Joe Baldridge, and Joe just was really into I don't know what we were doing, and he was working with the Features, and he was like, "Hey, can I do the KATIES as well? You know, just jump on." And so we went in and we recorded, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 songs with him, and it just clicked. Like we just really got along with him. I had a lot of similar background and stuff. So, and those are the songs that they took, and all of a sudden, like it was like off to the races. There was like, I was like in rooms with Rick whenever he had multiple labels on the phone and stuff. It was like people were like really like pushing for it. So it's like, you know, that gets all in your head when you're like a 22-year-old kid. You're like, "Oh my gosh, this is like crazy. I'm going to like be huge." So like it was like, so it was like, you know, you're just playing this off the other. And so when we finally did settle, so there was kind of like already like news, I guess, within, you know, how they have talk all within the industry with all them themselves that, we settled we went with Elektra. And I guess, you know, there was, I don't know if we never felt any pressure as the KATIES. We were too young and naive and in our heads to think, "Oh, we're so badass. We don't have to worry about nothing. We're just going to go like, you know, get high and rock." That was all we cared about. So we didn't really look, you know, it was easy for us to go in that without like much pressure on us. We just went in and was like, let's make a record that we want to listen to. And we moved into the studio. We went into Treasure Isle. We were supposed to be there for like a month. I think we were there for 2. And we stayed there for 2 months, like all 3 of us and 2 of our road crew guys. And it was just like this real, like, I don't know, a lot of people would come by. It was a real partying atmosphere, but it was also just a real fun kind of like, I don't know. So there was kind of a buzz, I guess, because we was real open to like, "Hey, come by and listen to this." And Rick was just bringing people in and out. And so the idea was like, "Hey, this is going to take off." So we thought, "Yeah, this is going to happen." And we did the record. We loved it. Elektra loved it. We sent it to them. And then I think from the beginning, they wanted different album cover. And we didn't, I don't know if we were just being what we were like, no, we didn't want to do the album cover. And it wasn't even like we liked the album cover that we did. I think we just didn't want to do their album cover. I don't know what it was, but like, That's kind of the way we were, though, which is, I don't think we were probably the easiest people to work with because we were kind of just so naive. We're kind of rednecks and just like didn't know what we didn't know, which I think made the music and stuff good because of that, but also just probably made us like, who are we dealing with? These like morons. But so we kind of fought, we started off kind of like fighting, and then I think we fought over the single, like, they wanted Drowner to be the single. And at the time, our A&R guy was the same A&R guy as Third Eye Blind. I thought Drowner should be the single too, but like I'm the only pop guy in the band. I'm the only guy in the band that like likes the pop stuff. And the KATIES ran like really like we ran like a family. We were like three brothers. So like it was real democratic. It was kind of like if we didn't want to if one person didn't want to do a song, we weren't doing a song. Like it was that kind of a deal. So it was kind of like it was that went back and forth, and they finally were like, okay, we'll let you do this single, then we'll do Drowner next. But we never even got to the next single after Noggin Poundin. So it was kind of like, you keep doing these stuff. I remember they sent our publisher one time sent us a theme song for the OC. They wanted us to do the theme song for the OC, and I was like, no, I ain't gonna do it. And I'm like, what? And then they go off and watch this show on Fox, and the song California. So I'm like, what was I thinking? But we just did stuff. It was also in a time to where we were coming out of an era to where we were so full of like what rock and roll was, that it wasn't sellout, that it was like, fuck you to the man kind of a thing. Even though we were like on a record label and all this, it just didn't register the dichotomy and the craziness of that to us. But so we thought it was like, yeah, fuck you. We're just there to rock, man. We're not gonna like look long term or like look to try to help your career either. We're saying no to you, and probably now you're gonna get screwed over by your boss for like, it's like we didn't think like that at all. So who knows? Like, and then after Noggin Poundin didn't do that well, there was just kind of like this, like they wanted us to go back in and start writing. We were like, no, we want to go back and play. And so our relationship sort of started deteriorating pretty quickly after that, because we was like, no, we're going to go back out and play the road. And then when we did start sending them songs, we sent them like 30 or 40 songs, and they'd be like, they just didn't like it. It wasn't what they wanted. So we're like, we're stuck. What we do?
Wow. But before we move on from that era, I have to confess, I probably should have looked it up years ago. I want to bounce the song Shiseido off of you, because I've been singing along to those lyrics, like I said, 25 years.
I'm tired of waiting. You said you'd be back soon, but that was late last June. I'm spinning in your moon, but I'm getting tired of you and what you do to my head when I lose you. So I spin a little like penny by wax. Are you coming back? Does it grace like that? What am I to do when I wait too much for you? When you're all I need, but not enough for me. Just say no, don't think so. You're trying, I'm lying. You let go when been close. You're so pretty when you're smiling.
I Googled Shiseido and found that it is a Japanese makeup company. So, and what am I missing, Jason? What is Shiseido all about?
It's so funny because like I was talking to my daughters before this. I have like a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they were like saying something about, I have Shiseido lipstick, and because they were talking about Shiseido, and I was like, yeah, I mean that's what it was a response to, like, but it was just a flippant thing. I was like saying I just was using Shiseido as I don't even know. It just seemed like a good word to me. But I mean, it's like so many people have asked me about Shiseido since then. I'm like, I really should have put. I mean, the song. It seemed I know exactly what like the song was about, and to me, Shiseido doesn't. I don't know how it relates to the song other than Shiseido lipstick. There's a I know I got the idea from a Tori Amos song, the word Shiseido. That's where I first heard it. So somehow I'm thinking it's probably like related to like me subconsciously thinking something about a Tori Amos deal. She sings about it in one of the songs on Boys for Pele. But it was all but it was all related to the whole like this whole experience I had with in the back. I always talk about in the back of Bingham Barnes, who you had on. I listened to his. I was in the back of his van with a group when we were on our way to see Blur at 328. It was like an old venue they had here, and it's not there anymore, but it was in downtown Nashville. And there was a group of us, and I know it was Bingham had this old like VW van, but not like the old buses, like the ones they had like in the late 80s or 90s or something. And like it was a bunch of us in there, and I can just remember me and James Robbins and Gary like getting really baked in the back of it. And I had this like the first of like this what would be a few during this period, this like outer body experience where I've never experienced, where I literally was like, I saw myself come through the roof. I saw the van on 24, and it was just like I was all of a sudden in this like crazy just state, and I don't know. And then apparently I then all of a sudden, I don't know, they said I was just kind of like zoned out. Then I saw myself coming back through the roof and it was just like I woke up and I was like so blown away by this idea that I had just like met God or like seen this idea of like beauty, and I couldn't speak, and they were like, God, and it was surely it was related to all it being so fucked up, which I was during that period. I was always fucked up. And so like I remember just sitting in the back of 328 and I couldn't comprehend, like I'm just thinking I didn't realize what a punk band Blur was. Like I was like, man, they're way more like punk than like I realized, like from like, you know, Great Escape or whatever. But like I was just sitting there being like, I can't get this like out of my brain. And it just affected me for a few days. And I talked to this guy who I used to always talk about, who my brother Joshua lived with, who we used to rehearse at their house, this guy, Ryan Bernard. And he talked about, he was like, man, I had this kind of experience with this dude was like saying he was at some Grateful Dead concert and like Jesus was standing next to him. And somehow that's where the whole song came from. This conversation was like this relating of me going out of this van, him saying, somebody talking about feeling like they were sitting with Jesus. And that's where I got that line, like, you look like Jesus, you know, and blah, blah, must be Jesus and stuff. So like, it was all like this outer body van experience about me at the time, you know, probably trying to come to terms with like some kind of spirituality and stuff like that with my spirituality, because I mean, all the Katie stuff is so littered with like biblical reference and all that shit, because the way that, I mean, Joshua and I are like preacher's kids. So like the world, we grew up pretty fundamentalist, like that. I mean, I would have been like a freaking zealot, when I was a freaking zealot when I was young. It was a weird like upbringing for me. So like there was a lot of the lyrics, I mean, forever are dealing with that, just like that battle of like, what is going, you know, on inside of me with this belief system that actually doesn't work for me, but that was so ingrained, like, you know, in the way that I grew up. It was just so much of I think a lot of the like shower, Jesus pick and stuff, that all those lyrics are all about that kind of like, when I listen to that album, it's like, oh, that's the struggle side. And then you get the pop songs, which like Power Kiss and She's My Marijuana I was young and in love with my wife. We're still married. And so there are all these love songs. It's like these love songs and this angst. That's pretty much stayed with that's the story of my life, pretty much. Love songs and angst.
Well, I'm not trying to jump all the way to the end, but one of the most recent Katie's recordings, there's a song called Sideways, and the lyric is, I told you once I saw God when I was sideways, open up my heart and let it spill out on the highway. And I just, hearing that story about Shiseido, like, I can't help but connect it to that song Sideways.
Yeah, that was the trilogy. It was like Shower, Sideways, and Shiseido were, because I wrote Sideways back at the, and during that period. We never had a recording we liked of it, and we were always like, we just got to get a recording. So when we did the Die Ultra, we were like, let's just get it down. But yeah, that's totally from that period. That's exactly what it's about. It's like Sideways to me was the most direct of like, this is because that, I think that is the lyric. I think that's exactly how I always felt about God or whatever, and like makes me feel sideways. So yeah.
So self-titled record comes out in 98. 3 years go by. It's 2001. You find yourself in the studio tracking another 6 songs with Matt Mahaffey at the helm. And for a while there, that session was kind of a dirty little secret. Like somebody had leaked it, and big fans of the band maybe had like a burned CD of it. But that shit didn't properly come out until what, 2020?
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually stuff that we recorded with Matt, and that was we did this like big run there towards the end of the KATIES to like, let's make another pitch. Let's essentially do what we did the first time. Let's record a set of songs and then go pitch it. We're going to go to New York, and which is what we did. So we went out to LA with Matt because we've been talking with Matt forever about recording. I mean, because we were just really close to that whole Murfreesboro scene. The people that were in that scene, that's the people I'm friends with. Like, and they were, and I could call any of them now, and it's just like, so it was easy. It was like, oh, Matt's in LA, let's go record with him, you know? And so we went out to LA and did the 6 songs, and we were so stoked to be out there because I think that's the longest time that we spent. And and Matt at the time lived like on where did he live? He lived on Laurel Canyon. Like his house was on Laurel Canyon, and so he was in this house that just seemed like, oh, this is Hollywood, man. This is where you want to be. So it's just we got out. It was just like a let's do this record, and like we're gonna go kill it. And then that's how the idea of like let's move to LA got in our head. It was like, oh, we're just gonna come out to LA. Matt's in LA. He kept being like, let's come out to LA. Come out to LA. It was. And we produced that with him. It was like this whole like, it just felt like, yeah, we could do a whole record with Matt, and this whole kind of like idea. But so we took that and shopped it around, and like no one was into it. No one wanted to do anything with it. And so at that time we were just like, oh man, let's just go out and play. And it didn't really, I don't know, like. I think by this time, probably like, I don't know, probably like I was getting out of hand, probably like drug wise and stuff. And I was probably unreasonable. I don't know. We had a different manager at this time and stuff. And he was like, he said I was pretty much like, he couldn't, I didn't feel like crazy, but a lot of people said I was like, kind of crazy-ish to deal with and stuff. And he said he just pretty much could deal with like Gary, but I think I got really hurt after the first KATIES record, and I wrote all the songs, and they didn't like any of them. It really hurt my feelings. But at the time, I was too young to understand it. I mean, it took me years and years in therapy later to realize, oh, this really, really hurt me this way when they and it just like set me off in a tangent of stuff, So like by that time I didn't even trust the people working for me. Like I wouldn't take my own manager's advice and stuff. So I don't know like how long the KATIES like had. It was my idea to move up to LA because I was in there. Gary didn't want to, and I was like, no, we're moving. We got to move to LA, dude. I just had it in my head that like, oh, let's go to this promised land or some shit, and then we booked a bunch of shows like up the West Coast, and it's like, let's go to LA. And so, after the failed shopping of the demo, I think we thought, oh, we'll go finish it when we move out there. We moved out there, and we never got around to recording it because, like, I think about 9 months into it, Gary's like, man, I fucking hate LA. I mean, he hated it. It just wasn't for him. I mean, I get it. It's a weird place, man. And I was like, fine, you can just leave. I'm not leaving. I'm staying. And like, Gary had like a young kid at the time, and it was so unfair of me, like, really just to be like, hey, we're moving to California, I'm taking the band, this is what you do. And it was just really probably, he was in a no-win situation. It was a real shitty situation. So that was effectively like the first end of the KATIES. And when that ended, it was kind of like, well, we're not, who cares about putting this stuff out, So it did just end up leaking until finally we were just like, oh, we got to put this out. So we just put it out digitally. And now I want to put it out. Like, I actually want to press some vinyl. So start playing.
Yes. Listen, Jason, friend Jason. This is the part of the podcast where I appeal to our listening audience to unpack wherever you have your air guitar, right? Reach for it, get your air guitar out. Both Lucinda and particularly Outer Space, two of the best songs ever cut to tape.
Oh man, I love Outer Space. I appreciate that, man. Like, I love him. That Outer Space is my favorite song, one of my all-time favorite songs to play. I just love playing that song. And that's like I feel like that was like a three of us co-write. And I always loved the ones that like all of us would write on, or like me and Gary would like sometimes write together, and I would really like that's our me and Joshua would write together. But that was one of those like Joshua had like I think that was definitely a Joshua riff. That down 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 down. That's Joshua. Joshua wrote that riff, and like so like yeah, I think he had the riff, and Gary had some chord progression or something, and I don't know. And it was just like it was just a fun song. I really dig it. Well, that's the one I miss playing from the KATIES. I miss playing out. It's just fun to play too because you can solo. Like it's an A, which is my favorite to solo in. So yeah, it's nice.
Keith, I know I'm bogarting this. Get in there, man.
No. By all means, have at it. I'm taking notes. I'm listening. I'm so enthralled by the stories.
Oh yeah, well, I got stories.
I fucking love it.
Oh man, thanks. I was thinking it's like there's a lot of like interesting stuff. It's like the success didn't happen, but I didn't live a boring life at least. I can so I got that going for me. But there's some funny stuff.
How long were you in LA?
3 years.
Oh wow.
And, yeah, so Gary leaves, and we were sharing a rehearsal space with a band that had been produced by Joe Baldridge, the guy who produced the KATIES record. And I never really met him, but somehow Joshua started playing drums with him because we were sharing a rehearsal space with him, and everybody, and they were a heavy band. They were called God, Money, Sex, and they were on Roadrunner before.
Okay.
So they were like more that like kind of like that style. And like we shared a space with them, and like their band broke up and right around the same time that Gary left. And it was just like, let's just form a band. And just pretty much immediately formed a band. And we had booked like shows that I think we got a new booking agent for the KATIES and booked shows, to play on the West Coast, like before Gary left. So we had to cancel a lot of them, but some of them we could do. And so it was like, we're going to go play this new band, like in this. So we had it's called When Breathing Stops. And it was like a 2-singer two guitar, bass, and drum. And I loved that band, but it was the heaviest, most aggressive stuff that I've played in a band. And like, that's when stuff like really, it was like, it just took stuff. That 3 years like escalated probably my like mental and moral and spiritual and all that kind of downward spiral. It really began because what's that Hunter S. Thompson quote of like, turn your back on person, but never turn your back on a drug. You can turn your back on some drugs there and they get on top of you. Okay. And When Breathing Stops was this loud, angry band. But like, it was good, man. It was really good because the KATIES, when we were out there, we'd played this show and I got like my pedal board and a bunch of my amps and guitars stolen. So I was down to like this one, like, Marshall rig, and I used to run like a 2 rig and stuff, and like I didn't have a pedal board anymore, and I'd be like, fuck it, I'm just plugging straight into the amp. I'm not even gonna get another pedal board. And that's the way when Breathing Stops was just straight. We're like, we're gonna be like old school AC/DC. We're not gonna use anything. It's just all gonna be from the amps and guitars, and we're just gonna go try to punch everybody in the face. And it ended up working out really good in Orange County for us. Like, they just all of a sudden people, because Orange County is way more like, Republican and everything. They get all like amped up when people want to punch you in the face, I guess. But like, it's like, but I mean, I get it, man. I make music to punch you in the face too, so I get it. So we just started playing, and like we would play, and like we got on these bills, and I met the guys from Lit, like Jeremy, and they would let us open up for them and hooked us up in some of these they hooked us up in some shows that by the end of When Breathing Stops time, we had actually an A&R guy from Elektra back out at the When Breathing Stops show. Yeah, asking, but I wouldn't. I was so out of my brain. I wouldn't let us like talk to anybody. It was bad, dude. I was like, no. I told the guy to. I told the guy to leave, and I was just running this. I've done a lot of therapy since then, so I understand now that like sabotaging. But I was running this thing straight into the ditch. Like we had one of the guys had like Gold Coast management. I made him fire him. It was just stupid stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. It was just like, yeah. And we recorded this, I don't know, like 4 or 5 songs at cello, like this, we recorded in the Frank Sinatra room where Frank Sinatra recorded all this stuff.
Yeah.
On 2-inch tape and stuff. And I was like, man, we're just giving this out. We printed up a bunch of CDs. So like, we're not selling them. We're not doing anything. We're just going to give them out to like it. Like, it was just this, I was in a bizarre like headspace. And then like that imploded because I was in a bizarre headspace. And I think I yelled at one of the other singers, now wife, like, and, you know, and I'm just, and they're like, I can't be around this guy. And then it was kind of like the stuff just started coming off the rails for me there. Like, and once that band stopped, I was doing writing with another guy. Like we used to do, I would pretty much we'd go play Madden, get high and write. And, one of the songs that we wrote, he had a deal with, I don't know who had a pub deal. I can't remember. He had a pub deal and I was out of my deal. So I didn't have any kind of deal or any kind of like thing going on. And he was like, man, if we get this, you can act as your own publisher and I'll split it with you. We ended up on a TV show when we got money, and I was like, let's get the hell out of LA. I got to get out of here. I'm going to die. And so my wife loved LA too. She was like, no, but I talked to her. I was like, yeah, we got to go. We got to go. And so I was like, we're going to go to Nashville because, you know, it's music. It's different than Murfreesboro. And I just got to get back in this. I thought at the time I really needed it back in the South. Like I was like, I was doing so many cocktail of pills, and my drinking was just so out of hand, like crazy amount. So it was just like, I felt like I just needed to like get out of there. I was going to die, and I can go back home to Tennessee and maybe I can like, you know, recover or something. And so that
it sounds like you did.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. So it all ended up working out like for me. Like I probably would have died. Like if it makes sense to me, like if the KATIES had more success, I don't think I could have handled it. Like just the knowing now, like the stuff that I was dealing with, like internally and stuff. I did stuff that I didn't understand at that age and stuff. So yeah, I think coming back, and then it was a few more years of drinking back here, because I would get on pills and I'd get off pills and get on pills and get off pills and stuff. And so I was off pills for a long time when I was back home. So I thought I can just drink and smoke some grass and like we're cool. And it worked like that for a long time until it didn't. And then you'll get back on more pills and stuff. And then eventually end up, you know, sober. So, but yeah, you know, it ended up a good story. Yeah. Ended up in AA and all that. But so that was like 17 years ago, something like that. It was like a year after my oldest. Well, no, 16 years ago. She's 17, so it was a year after my oldest was born. So it all comes out in the wash, as Mahaffey says. But
he does. Blue found its way out into the world. It got published, but Die Ultra is like this sort of, well, what are we going to call that? The KATIES 3.0? Like it's kind of a revitalization.
Yeah. Well, after we got back, we did the KATIES again as a 4-piece. We had this guy, Joey Campbell, who had played with Gary. Gary had a band called SJ and the Props. And, while we were in LA, and he joined, and so we played his KATIES, and I don't know what happened really. I just remember we played the basement one night. And I just remember I'll never forget the feeling of just sitting there. And I was like, I'm just done. And like at the end of the show, I just told him, I was like, I can't, just redo this. And we've tried to do it a few times before then, because there was not like, there's no animosity between the three of us. We've always remained very close. I was texting with Gary like before, like literally like a couple minutes before we were on here. So it's just a weird thing. I just think we couldn't put it back in the box like where we wanted it to be, because there was a period when it was just really good. There were moments, and I'm not even talking about shows. There were moments we used to play in this rehearsal space in Murfreesboro called Concert Productions. And to me, those were some of the greatest moments of my life. There were moments in that room with just the three of us to where it was like you're touching. It's like you're grabbing hold of what is in the universe. All of a sudden, you're just grabbing hold of it, and you're in the middle of it. So to me, it was like we had that value, and it was kind of like gone. Like the more KATIES 2.0, 3.0, whatever it is, it would kept that feeling started diminishing, and that's what I'm looking for when I do music, is that feeling. So if it's not there, then it's just not there. Why beat a dead horse? But who knows? We never say never. We're technically on hiatus. We're just like, hey, we're all in the doing our own solo thing. Gary's got hit. Gary just finished a solo record that both Joshua and I played on, and it's my favorite stuff Gary's done. He's going to release it this year. So I think he just booked a show. I'm going to play guitar with him. And he's got this big band of like a ton of people playing with him, but it's really cool.
One of the things that kind of tipped my hand towards reaching out to you to do this, Jason, was Bingham mentioning, oh yeah, we just played a gig with Jason and he's playing under the name Wayne Mosh. And it's like, to hear Bingham tell it, it's like, oh, those crazy guys, they all had like code names and stuff. But I think I'd much rather hear you tell the story behind why Wayne Mosh.
It is pretty much code name crazy. You hear that? We're using code names. It was Wayne Mosh is like been with me since I was in high school. In fact, a little known Wayne Mosh history. I don't know if you know John Davis from Superdrag. He was the drummer on the first Wayne Mosh recording, like that we did in my bedroom in Clinton, Tennessee, like when I was, I think, 17. So Wayne Mosh has been around forever as my kind of like this alter ego. It was supposed to be like, I was really into like, folk music, but it wasn't like I was listening to Peter Paul. It was kind of like I was just really into acoustic music, probably during that period when acoustic music was big, and I was interested in playing acoustic music. And that's what I was pursuing when I was in high school. I was like, I'm not trying to be in a band. But Wayne Mosh, I like rock and roll. I mean, I grew up with my dad, like, his favorite bands were like Zeppelin and Aerosmith, and so it's like I like rock. And it's just like natural. So Wayne Mosh was kind of like during this period when I was like, I'm just acoustic guy. It's like, no, I'm gonna just create this Wayne Mosh. It's like to be and it kind of always, I mean, it took on a life of its own. I mean, like it's just been, I mean, I actually got them to put Jason Wayne Mosh Moore in my yearbook of my high school photo for my senior year.
No.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I still think, it's just always been a thing. So when Wayne Mosh really took off was Murfreesboro was such like this family of kids. We were all so young and we were all creative and all playing on it. All the Sponge Bath bands and stuff that lived in Burr, we all played on it. We just played together all the time. We all shared rehearsal spaces and stuff. So Gary and I were working at a after school program for YMCA, like with kids, like we worked with children, like watching kids.
Sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we came up with, that's when we came up with this whole idea of doing this. Like we would draw with the kids and we started drawing these characters. And I was like, one time I drew Wayne Mosh and then he came up with his character, like who was Greg Grunge, and like and we would draw these like characters with the kids and stuff. And that kind of built into this, all of a sudden Greg Grunge was this rapper. And then everybody like in that Sponge Bath little group got involved. It was like, oh, all of a sudden we all met up at like, I remember it was on Seth Timms recorded the recording on his, on a 4-track. We met up in, I can't remember it was probably our rehearsal space. And like, it was just a group of us and we recorded like this first it was called Greg Grunge and Booty Hoop. And like that, like kind of like set the whole thing.
That is fantastic.
And so we took this tape over to Mahaffey's house. So I think Seth was living with Mahaffey at the time too. Like Mahaffey had like Mahaffey was always like the freaking Great Gatsby guy. He had the big house on the hill. Even in Murfreesboro, he was the one, he had the studio. So we all go over there with the tape to be like, dude, you got to check out what we just did. And when he heard it, he was, that's his forte, that world. He was just like, no, he jumped in, and he came up with he was MC Circle K back then. I think he's changed it. So. So everybody pretty much took a pseudonym and like started as a rapper. And so they made this big, there's even one Wayne Mosh rap. I was like, I'll never rap again after this because I'm not a rapper. But like even Mosh appeared on like an actual booty hoop track. And like there was this whole thing. There was even a rival rap group called Kiwa Kai, and like there was like diss tracks made and stuff. It was like, so from that, Gary and I, when we would have downtime, I don't know, we should have been doing something productive, but we weren't. We ate a lot of psychedelics and smoked a lot of pot, and we would record on the 4-track. We would just make up bands, just make up these characters and make up like, and I would mainly do Wayne Mosh, and then Gary and I had a band together called Flaming Death, and then we Flaming Death is one of my favorite. We did 10 albums. We're actually in the process where Gary and I are terrible at technology, but we're in the process of like trying to like put it all out. Like I have like all the trailer. It's called Trailer Park Bulls, the name of the record label that all this stuff was under, our fake record label. So we're trying to like, get it all in one place. Gary had it all digitized, so now we at least have all of that. But Gary recorded probably like 60, 70 cassettes of like stuff that was like, I mean, his stuff would be like these like Cranod the Bowman and this bow guy with all this music in the background and the guy telling a story. Like it was getting crazy. But we would carry around this cassette tape with us on the road. So it was mainly, we would take, our latest release, and it was only for that band. Because we took out our two best friends, this guy Moon Eagle and Jeff Schaffnugger. They went out on the road with the KATIES as like our whatever, guitar techs or whatever. But I mean, it wasn't like, it was just like, we got money. We're all going to go on the road. Let's like go on the road. And so we had the 15 passenger van. We would just be in there, and it'd kind of be like, we just put the tape in the front, and it was like, it would get judged right then. Like, is this a hit album or is it not? And some we would play over, and some of them, they would just, it was fun because some of them would really some of Gary's would really get brutalized, which was nice. Cause he went for like quantity over quality there. I feel like at a period, it was kind of like we would just listen to the stuff like while we were just like, on tour. It was just a way to, and it was just to make each other laugh, really. And just, it was just, I don't know. And it ended up being an outlet, and I just kept it going like after that. And then I would start writing Wayne Mosh stuff. And then I would just keep doing Wayne Mosh stuff on my own for years and years. And I realized I was like, I've got like 70 Wayne Mosh songs just sitting here on my hard drive that I've recorded for myself just for fun. I got to start doing something with this, so something like that.
Now, did Wayne Mosh return to the acoustic roots?
No. I don't think I'll ever go back to the acoustic roots, really. I mean, maybe I would. It's tough. I mean, I like playing acoustic sometimes. Like, I played an acoustic show as Wayne Mosh, or maybe it was about almost a year ago, and it was good. And I don't like it. Yeah, I go play acoustic shows, and it's like I miss the band so much. It's like I just miss that because I want to be like all sensitive and stuff because I'm a very overly sensitive type person, really. But like when I play, it's aggressive. It's just like I just want to be loud, and I just like having drums and electric guitars. I just love electric guitar. Like my literal favorite sound in the world is Malcolm Young. I mean his guitar. I mean, especially like on like Power Rage or Long Way to the Top. If you want to rock and roll, like that sound is like. So it's like I just love that sound, and I'm kind of a slop rock. I'm from that Jimmy Page world of slop, so it's like it just ends up being when I do try to play all sensitive, I can't play that way. If it ends up coming out like I'm gonna just rah. So it just lends itself better to rock and roll to me, or to electric guitars. I don't know, but I mean, there was a period when I actually recorded an acoustic. I recorded about 4 albums on a hard drive that I didn't release, and one of them was an acoustic one. It was all these acoustic songs, but like I don't know. It would just be like I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is because probably one of my favorite artists is Neil Young, and I love Crazy Horse. I mean, I listen to more Crazy Horse than I do his other stuff, but I love his other stuff too. Like I love when he's playing Harvest is a great album. There's one Silver and Gold. That's a real acoustic album. That album's great. But so yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of acoustic music. It's just also listen to a lot of
the latest Wayne Marsh song is Dynasty Riser, and I listened to it, and the first thing that popped into my head is, why isn't this called the KATIES?
Yeah, I know, because the KATIES won't be the KATIES if it's not the three of us, and it's just not going to be the three of us right now.
And I'll tell you why I think that's so fair, because the role in the KATIES that I think Gary plays is very Michael Anthony.
Oh yeah,
I think if you take Michael Anthony out of Van Halen,
he would so love to hear you say that. He loves Michael Anthony. I mean,
but seriously, if there's no Michael Anthony, David Lee Roth era or Sammy Hagar era do not sound like Van Halen.
No. Gary's the sauce, man.
Yeah, he's the straw that stirs the drink.
It's his voice. Gary is so musically gifted, and he's like trained. Like he knows what he's doing. Like he understands. Like he can tell you, I'm on the fifth here, blah blah, if he wants to. I mean, like he knows that crap. So like, I mean, I know it by like I can hear it, but like I don't necessarily know how to say the word. That he knows. I'm like, hey, it's this note. But like anyway, he is so, I don't know how to explain it. So tight, like on his singing, like he's so exact every time. Like he could sing something the exact same way every time if he wanted to, which is, as a singer, is just like, what? I mean, he's got so much vocal control. He's really impressive. Like his big talent is like, he can hear a song and like know how it should be put together. Like he's such a great arranger. He essentially is writing like cello lines for bass lines. Like his bass lines are these like melodic, like he's been very musical. To know him, it's funny because he's just such a contradiction. Like he's this show tune listening guy, but to look at him, he's got like Angus and Malcolm tattooed on him, but it's like, but he's great. I mean, he's so musically gifted. You
mentioned the cello on Dynasty Riser. I'm pretty sure I heard strings on there.
Oh, that was like Mellotron.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to do cello. I actually have a cello because my oldest played cello for a while, but man, it's hard to play. I was like, I'm gonna learn how to play cello. I'm like, no, I'm actually not gonna learn how to play cello.
Well, I want to bring it full circle. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that White Light as a song is something about getting clean. It sounds like you don't mind talking about the process of getting clean. It's something that I'm really happy for you that happened. Seems like you have flourished as a sober person. So tell me about white light and getting clean.
Well, getting white light. I'm just trying to like think about like what I was thinking. Like, yeah, a lot of the phrases in white light are kind of like phrases that we would kind of use. I think about like a respirator and a royal flush. White light I associate with LA in my mind. It just feels like that's what it felt like this explosion was going to happen. Like white light, it's over. And so when I finally got sober, it was like, well, I mean, it was pretty much like I was like in a country music song. It was getting kicked out of my house, and it was bad. My wife and I separated for a minute, and like during that period while I got sober, and it was all, my world was just falling apart, and I'd known for years that I had a problem. I'd known probably for about 5 or 6 years before I got sober. I was like, and I'd gone to lots of therapy. I'd gone to one therapist, and they were like, well, you can't go here. You got to go to rehab. I can tell you. And I was like, well, I'm not going there. I mean, I'd been to like, and then I went off the books because anyway, one therapist was so great down at Porter's Call, this great group down there, like in Franklin. And they hooked me up with this dude who was another touring like artist, and he was like going to take me to AA meetings, but I wouldn't do it and stuff. So there was a few years before I actually got sober, and there were a lot of instances like, I mean, just we used to get kicked out of bars in LA, and I would be like, yeah, well, we're kids because I'm like, you should come to the South, it was all this like whole thing, like, yeah, no idea. Then I started getting kicked out of bars in East Nashville, and it's like, well, okay, maybe I'm gonna start staying home all the time, and it's just like, so you're just staying home and drink. And I had like such a formula, and I just remember thinking at that period when I wasn't going out, and like there was such a combination of like the pills and grass and drinking, and I just remember being like, I'm gonna just have to do this for the rest of my life, and this is gonna kill me. It's probably gonna take 10 years off my life, but this is what I got to do to survive. It was so convinced that I couldn't quit. There was no way I could quit. So, but it was like that whole moment of like me driving home and seeing my bags on the, front and, yard, being like, oh, well, stuff's starting to change. So, and then I had this whole like experience, like where it hit me that night, and, to where it's like, I gotta change this, and I'm just gonna like do it. And so I called up the people that had like said that they'd take me to a meeting, and he was on the road, but he was great. He was like, hey, look, there's a meeting. I can't remember, it was like a Tuesday or Thursday meeting. And he was like, and it's down here, and I'll hook you up with this guy. And he hooked me up with someone to meet up at. But even before, I couldn't wait till then. The first meeting I went to, like an AA meeting I'm talking about, it was in East Nashville at this Catholic church. And I remember pulling up to the fellowship hall thing or whatever it was that I was outside of. And it was like all these bums and stuff, like homeless people and all this stuff, like hanging out. And I remember thinking, holy Christ, what have I done? Like, what is this? This is where I've got myself. Like, and I was like, so just like ruined at this point, like just broken. And I went into this room, and I just felt so much like love in there. Like they were very, I don't know, it was the most accepting, loving it was just what I needed at the time. So I got so I got involved in that for a while, and I was involved in AA for years. And if that's the path you want to go, I definitely recommend it. But I mean, some people don't dig it. However, you got to get there. You got to get there. I'm not a one-way kind of a guy. I'm like, there's tons of rivers, man. Just get to the ocean.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. But so then after I got sober, we were doing a band and stuff, and it was just like me and Joshua were playing with the guy that we were playing with in LA, actually, from When Breathing Stops, and the dude Stretch, and I remember talking to Joe Baldridge. Joe's always been like this kind of like older brothery kind of dude I could go to, would be pretty solid, and he just recommended like, hey man, why don't you take a year and just concentrate on, getting clean. And so I did, and it was good. I stopped doing any kind of band or trying to, I still played music and stuff. Like I always played music, but like I wasn't pursuing, like, I'm not going to go play out or I'm not going to record anything, that kind of stuff. And I was like that for a while. And then it was like, I had a family and it was so young. And then I was like, I just want to be a dad. I'm going to that was kind of like when I got sober, I was like, I was terrible to so many people. And especially the most of all, my wife, like what she had to put up with. And I was just like, I'm going to be like a good husband and I'm going to be a good dad. That's what I'm going to do. And those were the only two things that I was like, because I was really broken at this point and I didn't believe I could do anything. So I was like, I can do those two things. I can do those two things. And that was kind of like what I concentrated on. I just got a job and it was like, I'm going to be like a dad and a husband and like stay sober. Like it was because it was really hard to stay sober for years. I mean, the first probably 5 years is not easy. It wasn't until 7 years where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm going to get going. And then eventually it's like, I lost like they would talk about that in like the big book and stuff. But I lost the desire for it. So it's like, but like, it took a long time because drinking was my big thing. It was just like, I just love to drink, so it's fun. That's the thing. It was so fun at the beginning. It's like people ended up in my position. It's like, oh, no, people, you wouldn't get in my position if it wasn't fun. It was a blast. I don't regret it, but I do regret some of the damage. I tell you that. And it was damaging to it. I mean, it wasn't, I would have damaged it anyway. I have issues besides. No, I'm not like trying to blame it on the alcohol but that definitely exasperated like all the issues. So it was definitely a good thing for me to get off of it. Like it just doesn't work with me, So like I felt like after a while being sober, it was when I was finally able to like actually deal with what was actually going on the inside that was causing, me to need to like feel drunk to feel like normal, So yeah. It's good. It ended up being a good thing, and now it's like, I feel like I'm in a space to where it's like we're old enough to where I'm not worrying about stuff that I worried about when I was younger. I just want to make music I just want to be big in Nashville. That's my whole goal. So I just want to have a night, like, that's all I want. That's like my objective. So like, that's what Wayne Mosh is like stated goal. But like, I'm not looking, right. That's what I'm just looking to play. I want to like, be able to play every month and like release music. But like, I'm not like, I'm not at a place to where I'm desperate. Like that's it. And that I made a lot of dumb decisions in life when I was desperate. So it's like, it's nice to not be.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, I am here for the Wayne Mosh stuff. I really do. I like Dynasty Riser a lot.
Thanks. We just recorded, dude. We just recorded yesterday. We're working on an album. I'm going to put out a Wayne Mosh album. Got Sam Powers playing bass on it from Killer. It's good.
Nice. I mean, you could trip over the couch and land on a fantastic player in your Rolodex. You've got so many fantastic musicians around you. It is. But I tell you what, that there is a secret sauce. There's something real special about you and your brother and Gary, and what I'm hearing from you is definitely not never.
Yeah, not never. Yeah, definitely not never. No, it's people ask us, and like I say, we're friends. Like we're like brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a brother with one of them, but like Gary is like our other brother. So like, it's that's all good there. It's just I just want to do this thing. Gary's got his album, like Josh was doing V to Z, so it's just kind of like it's a good time. I actually tried to get them to do a whole Kiss thing. I was like, let's release like all like solo stuff all at the same time. We'll do like a whole release and
Joe Strummer, yeah, sure.
yeah. But we're just not able to. We're just not able to get organized. I don't think we're logistically challenged. So who knows?
I'm thinking of the Melvins because the Melvins spoofed the Kiss thing, right? When they did the Buzzo and the
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I think you should. Face makeup and the whole 9.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
That'd be great.
Hey, Jason, thank you for spending some time with us, man. It's awesome to catch up.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great stories, man. Just fantastic.
Oh, great. Well, thanks. I really had a good time.
Good. Cool.
I love just about everything you've ever put out, including the When Breathing Stops stuff, which can be hard to track down, but our podcast has resources.
Oh yeah, because I have like copies and stuff. I'm trying to figure out. Joshua and I were talking about like we got to get this like actually online properly, like get a proper file of it uploaded.
Man,
because I think
it's so easy.
Yeah, I know, but it's just a matter of like if we all have the right files, because like who has the files? That's the thing.
Yeah,
with us.
Well, it's on SoundCloud. What's up on SoundCloud?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Maybe if it's me or Joshua. I don't know if it's either me or Joshua. I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, remote control is out there, and you can stream it if you go hunting for it. And it's kick ass. So
good.
Yeah, the Wayne Marsh stuff is awesome. The Katie stuff is awesome. When Breathing Stops was awesome. Thanks for all the music.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I dig what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Jason for sharing his time and his stories with us.
This episode of Centre Stage was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by
Daphne Morris,
with help from
Penetration,
edited by
Vic Titball,
with help from
Clem Fandango.
Our theme song is Cynical by Jaguar on Mars. You can stream Jaguar on Mars wherever you stream your favorite music. The songs you heard during this podcast were Drowner, Shiseido, Outer Space, all by the KATIES. You also heard Remote Control by When Breathing Stops and Dynasty River by Wayne Mosh. You can stream the KATIES wherever you stream your favorite music, and be sure to check out our show notes for links to their Bandcamp and other work. Please remember to support independent music.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps other people find the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Grazie.
Bailey Leaf,
Rob Janicki, Mike Pellegrino, Farina Vella,
S.W. Loudon,
Michael Janicki, Peyton Janicki.
This show's executive producer is Lulu McGillicuddy and is in the loving memory of
Lucas Thunderlow.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.